Hello everyone. Let's look into figures of speech employed in the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Let's begin. We will. This is example of alliteration. Why is it example of alliteration? Because it's repetition of consonant sound in the beginning of words. Okay, moving on. Let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for once again. This is example of anaphora. Now, what is anaphora? It is a figure of speech in which words repeat at the beginning of successive clauses, phrases, or sentences. This is done to attract attention or grab attention of the readers. We have a word arms here, which I think you people have guessed it, right? This is example of pun. Pun is play on words. And when we talk about the specific pun here, it is homonymic pun. Words with identical spellings and sounds but different meaning. What are the two meanings then? One is the body part and the second is arms and ammunitions or weapons. Moving on. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. This is again example of anaphora. I am not going to explain you what is anaphora again because I have already done it. But definitely I want you to notice the master stroke that Pablo Neruda has achieved through using this rhetorical device here. This poem, as you know, is written in free verse. But by using this rhetorical device, he has slowed down the pace of free verse. And you can see the seamless unity of the form and the content here. Okay. Now let's move to the sudden strangeness. This is example of alliteration. Again, why alliteration? Because it's repetition of S sound, which is consonant sound. In the next stanza, fishermen in the cold sea. This is example of tactile imagery. Tactile imagery. Why is it example of tactile imagery? Because it appeals to our sense of touch. Here in engines, I forgot to tell you that this is example of synecdoche. Now, what is synecdoche? Synecdoche is a part which stands for whole or a whole stands for part. So, why is engines example of synecdoche? Because engines stand for automobile. Okay. Now, we are going to whales. Would not harm whales. Again, this is example of synecdoche. Synecdoche. Why? Because it stands for entire marine life. Moving on, would look at his hurt hands. Example of alliteration. Repetition of H sound. H is a consonant sound. And this is also example of tactile imagery. Again, why tactile imagery? Because it appeals to our sense of touch. Okay. Victory with no survivors. Victory with no survivors is example of paradox. Now, what is a paradox? Any idea? Paradox is self-contradictory statement, the underlying meaning of which is revealed only by careful scrutiny. So, if you read this again, victory with no survivors, you would find that it is true that wars they result in victory, but there is nobody to celebrate. It encompasses the tensions of error and truth simultaneously, isn't it? Okay. Would put on clean clothes. This is example of alliteration. Alliteration, repetition of consonant sound. Then we have shade, which is symbol. Why is it symbol, or what is symbol first of all? An object stands for an idea. Here shade stands for peace. Now moving on to this stanza, wherein you will have to read one line and then move to the next and then move to the next and then move to the next to understand its complete meaning. That is why this is enjambment. Enjambment. What is enjambment? When meaning of a line spills to the second line. You have to read the next line to understand the complete meaning of the sentence or the line. Okay. Then coming to the last stanza, now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I'll go. There is no figure of speech employed here, but it's a beautiful way to end, wherein the poet says that if you're cognizant enough of your good, you would keep on walking on the path that he had showed. So I'll wind up my video here, and I would consider you to be cognizant enough to revise properly and to sit for your exam. All the best. Thank you.